Hey guys, Trent here. Got a pretty nice janky little brew here. This is a Abzan Approach of the Second Sons Mastermind's Acquisition ramp deck. So basically we want to game one ramp into Approach of the Second Sons as fast as possible. To help us do that, we got a lot of ramp spells, a lot of removal, and a little hand disruption. And then Mastermind's Acquisition to tutor cards directly from either tutor up the approach or tutor cards from the sideboard. That's kind of the incentive to play these colors, I guess you could say. That, and this is a budget deck, so going in black allows for black removal, which are more budget compared to white removal, such as Fumigate and Settle the Wreckage. Anyways, land base. This is an Hour of Promise deck, so we've got our Arch of Araska, can be searched up with Hour of Promise. We're a ramp deck, so with the land acceleration plus stuff like Gifts of Paradise, we get the City's Blessing pretty easy. Got a big assortment of deserts. Got 2 Desert of the Indomitable. Just another desert. The untapped green desert really doesn't do anything for our deck, generally speaking, so I'd rather have, even though this comes into play tapped, I'd rather have the option of cycling the land later. And then same for one of our white sources, the Cycle Desert. Some Evolving Wilds, so we can, get that double black or get that white source if we don't have it yet. So we just got one black-white tap land. This is, of course, a budget mana base. The fast lands of these colors might be, if you have them, might be a better option. And then a single green-black tap land. We got one come into play untapped desert for green. Got Ifnir Deadlands, probably the more relevant desert for black. We can kill something. Single planes that we can fetch with our we have a couple ramp spells that only fetch basics, so if we need to do that, if we need to get a planes with that, or with the Evolving Wilds. Got our Scavenger Grounds. You can tutor it up, and we can hate out the graveyard if we need to. And then some basic swamps. Key to this deck is early interaction and removal. So we got some Fatal Pushes. The 4th removal piece, basically, movement, Moment of Craving. Gain us a little life, good against mono red, and a lot of aggro decks. Couple treasure maps. For like the flip artifacts, this is my favorite one. You can filter your draw, for a few turns, and then later you get 3 treasures to just continually draw cards. It's pretty good. Since we don't run counter magic or anything like that, we got some main board disruption, Doomfall. We can rip something crucial out of their hand or exile something off the battlefield of their choice. So we got our 3 mana ramp suite here. The primary ramp being Gifts of Paradise, gains us 3 life, accelerates us, helps with the City's Blessing. And then we got the 5th ramp spell, a Cycler. They can get a basic land, Beneath the Sands. Removal and the 4-drop spot, and Mastermind's Acquisition. We got 3 Masterminds, so again, game 1, we probably just, depending on where we are at the game, generally speaking, we just tutor up approach if we haven't drawn it yet, and then sideboard we can do a little tricky stuff depending on what we're playing against. We got a single cast out. I forgot that this cycles. Whenever I built the deck and started playing with it, I forgot that this cycles for white. I was thinking it cycled for colorless. But it's an instant speed removal spell. You can cycle it later in the game, but generally speaking, based on our mana base, we might have trouble cycling it in the early game. The nice thing about this card is it's instant, or it has flash, so we can hold this up or hold Shift F Monitor up. And then we got our sweepers, Johannes Expertise. This is really nice to wipe the board and then play something like a Gifts of Paradise or Beneath the Sands off of it. Or even another good one is to wipe the board and then rip a crucial spell out of their hand. So then, one of the key cards of the deck, Hour of Promise. We usually always have... We usually always get our 2 tokens on the first Hour of Promise, because we're dense enough in deserts to where we can make that happen most of the time. And then sometimes we may have to get 2 deserts on our first hour. Occasionally we can just get maybe 1 desert and an Arch of Orazca, but on the second hour we'll usually get the Arch of Orazca and other utility lands. Chapet Monitor, it's pretty good. Kind of treat it as a 4-mana spell, basically. Hardly ever going to cast it as a creature. But for 4 mana, you can cycle it in instant speed, of course, and you get to ramp a land and draw a card, so it's pretty good. And then our finisher, Approach of the Suns. So, sideboard. Now, keep in mind we're a Mastermind's acquisition deck. So some of the stuff is like, we could maybe go get it if we need to, and then some of it's just good sideboard stuff. Oh, yeah, there we go. So we have another win condition over here, Samware Convergence. We, depending on if we're playing against an opponent that's playing black, we may want to change our configuration of Approach of the Second Suns in the main board and sideboard to prevent our opponent's casting of this card, Lost Legacy. So, Lost Legacy, we have it as well. They can basically name Approach of the Second Suns and rip them all out of our deck. So, to prevent just getting completely demolished by that, we can utilize our Mastermind's acquisition and put an Approach or 2 in the sideboard and a couple in the main, so that they can't completely kill that win condition. And then we have another alternate win condition. We can either fetch from the sideboard or put it in the main board. Ixalan's Bindings, just a better removal spell against certain things, namely stuff like Hazaret and Scarab God. You can exile it and they can't cast another one. So if there's something that's really good against you, you can get rid of it for the rest of the game, unless they can, of course, get rid of this enchantment. Got our own Lost Legacies to fight against, other Approach decks and control lists and such. Got another sweeper, Bantu's Last Reckoning. We can tutor it up or sideboard it in against a heavy creature matchup. Extra Moment of Cravings against mono red and other fast aggro decks. A couple of Crook of Condemnations as extra graveyard hate against the Gift of the God Pharaohs decks and a few other decks. Harsh Scrutiny against creature heavy decks and decks that have stuff like the Scarab God and Hazaret. And 3 Duresses against other Approach decks and control. So that does it. I'm going to run it through a few matches and see how it goes. So keep in mind this is a budget deck, and there are other builds of this that are less budget. Take a look at them as a basis to where if you want to upgrade, maybe on more of a white removal suite such as Fumigate and Settle the Wreckage. All right, I hope you enjoy.